Good, fabulous Friday. And as I start my session, I just wanted to call out last 2 weeks has been very interesting in the world of agents, but of different type of agents, the agents of Bharat, right? Okay, so what I'm going to talk today is we are entering a very interesting world of agentic AI. And as we do so, why data is actually the real engine to succeed in that world. And I will contextualize in, in the world of Genpact when we serve clients. So let's start that. So if you look at our journey in Genpact, you will see there are two paths, and they are sort of going towards what I call as the agentic world. We obviously started in 2005, where we were spun off from GE. We created a category called the knowledge process industry, right? From there, if you look at it, 2010, we launched what we called as the smart enterprise processes. 2022, we evolved into, we created this construct, digital operations, lean digital transformation, and all that. If you look at the journey on the technology side, we started looking at lean digital, which later on became digital operations that I just talked about. We looked at how analytics, automation, and AI could really transform the journey for our customers. And then we started getting into generative AI in the last 2 years. But both these journeys are finally meeting towards the most powerful construct in my lifetime, which is making enterprises agentic. So that's been our journey. That's where we want to go to, and I'll take you through how we're getting there. So today in Genpact, we call something called Genpact Next Strategy, and while it has a lot of details, I would like to call out 3 different things. We want to lead with advanced technology solutions. It's a culmination of all the things I talked about: digital, analytics, AI, agentic AI, generative AI. We are focusing everything around prioritized service lines, so industries, functions, and all that. And then really it's all about we all exist because we unlock value for customers. So what's really changing? Whatever I told you, what's really changing? The first step is basically to create what I called as agent-powered enterprises. The next step is subtle, and I love English, but subtle change. It's to go from agent-powered enterprises to agentic enterprises. And I'll try to explain what it is, and I think this is where 2-3 things help you to go from A to B, and data being one of them, and there is one more thing that adds to that. So the agentic enterprises will actually evolve when we go from agent-powered enterprises to the future, right? So what does it mean in the context of process, data, technology, and people? If you look at process, so far, in an agent-powered enterprise, you can say that AI is in the process. But in an agentic enterprise, we believe AI will become the process. So today, if I run a process and I embed AI or software in it, what will happen is that the process will be driven by AI, and human will actually enable part of it, okay? What does it mean for data? So today, with all challenges, the challenges of data veracity, and we keep acquiring, demerging, and all of that, data is always in silos and static. We generally do not have the fingerprinting of or the DNA of the data. What we sometimes talk about is the knowledge graph. There is no semantic ontology. So we go from there to a unified, contextual, and real-time available data. In terms of technology, we have, from the world of systems of records like ERPs and all that, what we have inherited is complex applications. I was just talking to someone past. I spent some time in a company where the manager had an interface which had 50 different application links. From that, we are reaching to a world where your interaction has to be using simple interfaces, right? 2 clicks, 3 clicks, things should get done. And that's where agents will help you, because it is doing a lot of stuff that was the complex interfaces earlier. It's abstracted from you. You are actually interacting with very simple interfaces. The last is people. If you have AI in your enterprise, or even a lot of agents infused in it, what you have is human in the loop. So the human is enabled by the AI. From there, you actually go to human on the loop. So think of it as human is working with, the agents are doing a lot of work, human is actually monitoring, augmenting, governing, so that's the human on the loop. So this is where you go from agent-powered to agentic. Now, where we have been struggling to go from agent-powered to agentic is that we have systems of engagement, we have systems of record. Something has been missing, and we have tried different stuff. We tried systems of insights, good, powerful. We tried systems of integration. We think that we need systems of innovation. That is the set of agents, but agents are themselves not the innovation. The agents which are working in an orchestrated manner, seamlessly between themselves and the systems and human, that is the agentic layer, and that is the layer of innovation which bridges the gap between systems of engagement and systems of record. That's what we call as systems of innovation, and that's the agentic AI. It is not just agents, it is the agentic AI, the agentic enterprise. Okay, so how do we get there? How do we drive our clients through that journey? 3 steps. First is we have to supercharge our knowledge workers. This is where you bring in agents. And I'll give you a simple example. We have a fantastic team of data engineers. What we have done is we have enabled them. To us, they are the super knowledge workers, because our data engineers, they bring in super domain knowledge. They bring in knowledge of the latest technologies. They bring in knowledge of the architectural patterns. But how do we supercharge them? We have some assets, and you might have heard of a few of them yesterday, and we can talk outside. We have an asset called Dataverse, which basically creates industry domain-driven models very quickly based on very little data that you present to it. So it's an agent that is empowering our knowledge workers. We also have a tool called Code Genie. It's basically you have a system which you don't know who, there is no technical documentation, there's no proper annotations in the code is spaghetti and all that. You apply the agent, it actually gives you, depending on the complexity, it might work better when you give it a Java code, it may not work that great if you give it a Power Builder code, and also depends on the quality of the code, but it gives you a pseudocode. From there, it actually can give you a typical BRD that was used to create it, a feature list basically, right? So again, this is how we empower our knowledge workers. So these tools are used by our data engineers, but we also use it when we drive value to our customers. So this is an agent. But then how do we drive the last mile FT automation? This is very important, because our customers, they are now looking at all processes, and they are basically saying how agents can work in a seamless manner which drives automation at the last mile. How do you do that? Is you orchestrate these agents against a use case, and you bring in significant automation, so that the human starts, rather than doing the actions, it actually starts reviewing the actions. It becomes a governor, an auditor, or a supervisor. So that's the second piece. How are we doing it? Again, the tools that I mentioned to you, they work in a construct, and I'll touch upon it. It's called Gigafactory. So that's where we bring in these operating model structures called Gigafactory, AI Gigafactory, which leads to last mile FT automation. So we can do stuff which, a transformation which is needed to be done in 6 months, let's say, we can try to do it in 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, because we bring that. The last is agentic powered offerings. So all this is fine. How do I tell the story of the benefits to the customers? This is where we create something called products or productized solutions, where we bring all these things together, start with a value, and then deliver this as an end-to-end. So we don't deliver based on FT or reduction or automation percentage. We deliver value based on, hey, Using this, your cost of processing invoice goes down 70%. Or using this, your ability to handle claims goes up by this %. So that's the level of the agentic offerings. Okay, so these are the 3 steps. I explained to you how we are using it internally and how also we are trying to take it to the external clients, right? So all these things come to 2 operating model changes for Genpact. One is service as agentic solutions. This is what I was alluding to. We have all talked about SaaS. This is what we call as SaaS 2. The software is not the service. The service itself is driven by the software, and that is an agentic software. Okay? And the second is Genpact AI Gigafactory, which is what I referred to, where we bring in agents empowering knowledge workers. We bring in an operating model which focuses on automation in driving value, and then combining all of that into a value-led offering. So these are the 2 that we are driving. So, to give an example, we have launched a product in the space of accounts payable. And this is, for example, an architecture of that product. It has agents, it has orchestration, it is all wrapped by a value architecture. At the center of it, if you see, it works with systems of records. For accounts payable, it could be FTP servers, ERPs, R2R softwares, all sort of systems of record. On the right side, it has different portals where you engage buyers, suppliers, processors, finance senior people who need to see the reports and all that. We always had a central layer called systems of insights, what you see there, systems of integration. So Genpact has very strong IP in the middleware space. We are building a data products-driven data hub. But the secret sauce is what you see at the top. So we have a system of specialist agents, generalist agents. So orchestration agents are generalist agents. Specialist agents are like extraction agents, metadata curation agents, and all that. And all this is working in a multimodal architecture, multimodal agentic architecture, which is the systems of innovation for us. That's the heart of it. It's the agentic AI engine. So this is an example of how all these things comes together. But what you see at the bottom is interesting, governance and data quality. Our experience is all this works, as I'm implementing this product in customers, 3 areas come to us as the problem areas. One is the master data. Second is our data integration, not just the data integration work, but the quality of the data that I'm integrating it to. And the third is, am I able to apply the right agents, right models, depending on the form factor and the complexity of the data. This is where we go wrong. We started creating one extraction agent. We are realizing we need to create an ensemble agents, which may be 5, 6, maybe tomorrow 15 or 20, which will be determined by the type of data that it's applying on. So therefore, if I have to build this innovation engine, the biggest enabler or the biggest innovator is the data, the master data, the metadata, the access to the data, and most importantly, the deep domain knowledge, the semantic knowledge of the data, which is helping me to select the right agent for the job. It doesn't help you if you have 15, 20 agents in your agent foundry. You need to know which agent to be used with some config and customization. That is determined by the data type. Okay. This is just an example of how we are thinking of building agentic solutions. I've just taken an example of the finance and risk area because that's our largest area and we want to go there. So we have built something on accounts payable. We are building something on invoice to cash, records to report, ERC, and all of that. The common theme in each of these, in some of these we have built solutions. In some of these we have built productized solutions. Productized solutions, according to me, are solutions which are customizable 20 to 30%, meant for 5 to 10 customers. But products, that's the ultimate culmination, which is you build products which are geared towards outcomes and you target 50, 100, 200 customers. So as we are building agents, first in all of these, the agentic solution is happening in few, and ultimately some of them are going to lead to agentic products. okay? The problems, I already touched upon them, but I'll just talk. So obviously there are data silos. Look at it from the business side and from the technology side. This is where the, so one is, do I have the right use case? And I'll give you an example. We are building an extraction agent. The agent that works best if it's a handwritten invoice versus it is a PDF versus an image. The use case determines which is the right agent. So whether it is tesseract-based extraction or donut-based extraction or whatever, right? What is important is the use case. What am I trying to extract from? Is it a handwritten prescription of a doctor? Or is it a standardized 60-page contract? Or is it a very, very sort of specific but highly, highly domain-driven invoice? The problems are different, okay? Second is the veracity. So use case, choosing the right data product for that use case, which is the use case determines the right agent. Think of the data product as agents are a type of data products. Second is scaling AI. Our experience says that a lot of things work at MVP stage, but and it's not just that there is drift. It's simple that when you scale up, your ability to handle the use case actually widens, and then you need to think of not a product, most probably you need to think of an ensemble product. So which is where our ways of addressing the scaling of AI is, don't think of one agent, think of a set of agents and have an orchestrator which selects the right agent for the right use case. As you scale up, you have to have it. The third one is obviously talent shortage. Agentic is not just AI engineering. It's agent engineering, and agent engineering is AI plus also domain. Second is agentic also needs a lot of concepts of microservices, orchestration. So you have to blend all this together, and that's the right sort of talent. On the bottom side, I talked about the products. You have to select the right agents. Data veracity. Again, you do something, roll it out. As you scale up, what you realize is customers themselves don't know the quality of their data. So you have to have an engine built as part of the scalability, which always checks the quality or the veracity of the data as you scale up. We have seen that where, when we are running 10,000 invoices, we expect and we stabilize the product to that. And then as we go to 50,000 invoices, the customer themselves don't know the veracity of the data goes down. So how do you react to it? So it's a feedback loop. The third is fingerprint. And this is where the metadata, the knowledge graph, the semantic layer is so critical. Okay? So these are the three business challenges, and these are the three data challenges which needs to be addressed if you have to create the agentic AI-led innovation. Moving on, if I have to do this, what is the capability model? And this is Genpact's model to it. So the way we do it is, if you have to build for a customer, start from the top, go down. But if you have to you are assessing that, hey, this problem is going to hit some customers, you are doing some market research and you want to proactively build something, then you start from the bottom. So classical project management, top down meets bottom up. This is what we propose, okay? So first you have to have what we call as the data engine room. This is a place where I have access to data. So when we work with our customers, we try and see what data can be anonymized, synthesized, so that I can build data sets on which I can train not just one agent, but a different type of agents. So what this means is I need to fine-tune my synthetic data into 5 different varieties so that different type of agents can run on the same data set. So that's engine room. Metadata and constantly having a live semantic metadata layer, absolutely critical. It has to sit on top of the engine room, not separate from it. On top of it is a AI agent foundry. This is what I was talking about, build 15 agents on extraction, 25 agents on curation. You keep building it. But you apply domain-driven LLMs and SLMs on these agents so that they become real and they actually are not just rule-based, but they are more advanced. So, they are not just reflex-based agents, they are model-based agents, right? On top of it, you don't do anything without working with partners. So your partners, whether they are like other agent marketplaces or whether they are other data marketplaces, or whether there are other agents being built by, so we are working with a partner where they have a fantastic observability agent, and while we have our agent, we are also working with them to embed it in our products because they have something unique which we don't have today, so work with them. All this leads to what I call as executable AI agents. This is where I was referring to as empowering our knowledge workers to become agent enabled. So everything is fine, but till you reach that level, you actually don't have a working agent. So that's the executable agent. On top of it, you have orchestration AI agents. So you may have 5 executable AI agents, but unless you orchestrate all these things together, where it can work autonomously. When I say autonomously, it can prompt the user to do certain things. It can guide the user to do certain things. In some cases, that it learns based on the user interactions. At some cases, it can start doing certain things autonomously. So that's the orchestration of the AI agents. And finally, you reach the business outcomes. When we do it for clients, so this is how we do it for products. We do it bottom up. But when we do it for solutions, we start from the top and we go down. The thing that you see at the top is all this has to be enabled by responsible AI and security framework. So Genpact, we have our own responsible AI framework. We have built it using MIT frameworks and all of that. But we also constantly work with niche companies in this space so that we always make sure that our responsible AI framework is live, updated, and it's real. So any product that we release to the market, for example, my product, there's an independent COE team which actually applies the responsible AI framework, and only when they pass it, it's one of the gating factors before we do GA. When we do big solutions for our clients, same thing applies. Last 2 that I want to talk about is, on one side, there is data sharing, but the monetizable area of that is Genpact Marketplace and a partner marketplace. So all these add more muscle to it. So it doesn't help if I have all of this, but we cannot expose it for our internal Genpact employees, or we cannot expose it to our customers. We have already exposed it to our internal employees. We're in the process of creating an external marketplace. So how does this come together? I already mentioned about Gigafactory. It all starts with what we call as value studios. So we have value architects who start with the business use case, the outcomes, in case of client solutions. If it is a product, we have working brainstorming sessions with them. So right now we have sort of released a product in the accounts payable space. The next one, will it be X or Y or Z, will be determined by some workshops with the value architects. They actually use a very interesting tool. I'll give you a glimpse of it. It's called G Solutions. They leverage all these other layers I talked about, what agents we have, what data we have, what executable agents can I leverage. That then flows into the Gigafactory, and the Gigafactory has 2 parts. It is a pool of agent-enabled knowledge workers, data engineers, data architects, domain architects, working in a pod level, very fast scale up, scale down, and they are enabled by pre-built assets, the things I called like the Code Genie, the Dataverse. You have heard about Dataverse yesterday. And they use, obviously, Giga Academy, which is our very, very custom-defined academy to scale up people's knowledge, applicable knowledge, in much faster speed. Okay? Some of the partners we are working with are mentioned here. So this is what we have today. The G Solutions, today we have 1,000+ active AI models. When I say active, it is like either they have been deployed in our internal products, it has been deployed in products that we are selling to our customers, or all these models have been deployed in client solutions, whether agentic or AI or whatever. Not all AI models are agents, by the way, right? That's the next one, about 21 agents. By the end of this year, we hope to make it about 50. When I say agents here, these are the executable agents, not the AI Foundry agents. We have done about 500 AI implementations. Some of them are Gen AI, some of them our Agentic AI. As I said, the product we have launched, we are doing about 15 implementations in 3 months. All of them come under the 500. We have Gen AI trained folks, and we have a very simple model: builders and consumers. Builders go through a training where they become builders of Agentic AI. Consumers go through a training where they understand how to consume. So what you see here is primarily 5,000 plus are builders. Consumers, our view is all of our employees, because they run digital operations, all of them have to become consumers of AI. And so far, this last data is specific to our products. I do not have the data which is specific to all the solutions we have done. But for the products that we have launched, we have done 5 launches so far in 3 months. We have seen about up to 40% productivity improvements. So we call this as a glide path. So today we have about 40%. The idea is to go up to 60, 70% in the next 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. This is what I was talking about, is the G Solutions, the marketplace. It starts with something called Agentic Development Lifecycle. This is where we use our Code Genie. It basically changes the software development model to an agentic development model, where you work with an agent to generate code. You work with an agent to generate test cases. You work with an agent to decompile existing code and get at least a baseline of pseudocode. You cannot give this to basic workers. You have to give it to people who can make use of that. Okay, so it needs a skill set to use the agentic development tools for the agentic development lifecycle, but that's the way forward. Below that is what we have, our agentic products and solutions, what I mentioned. They are underpinned by a data marketplace, the engine room, the metadata, the synthetic data, and all of that. The AI model hub, this includes the executable agents, the agent foundry, all other non-agent models, everything. And below that are the engineering libraries, the DevOps pipelines, the architecture, pre-built sort of toolkits and all of that. And at the bottom, as I said, it is underpinned by our responsible AI checklist and framework. It's not just a checklist, it is a framework that we apply before going to production on everything. That's where I will end. The point I wanted to end with is data engine is what is going to go all the way. Unless you have that part, you cannot do all the remaining pieces of innovation, which includes the agent foundry, the execution agents, the orchestration agents. If you don't have a very, very mature, your maturity of the data engineering has to be 8 out of 10, so that, because the things which are at the top, they are not that mature. They're evolving fast. But the evolution, the velocity and the efficiency of evolution is determined by the data engine room.